Course or college? It's a dilemma that thousands, if not lakhs, students face every year. So how does one resolve this? Is there one size that fits all? How do you make what many have described to me in this last week as the dreaded choice? Well, that's what we're trying to find out. As always, a very special panel of experts who are going to help us resolve this issue for you. If you're one of them who are caught with this dilemma as well, there's of course Usha Albuquerque, needs no introduction, education counsellor and founder at Career Smart, Dr. Shashi Tyagi, Principal, Gargi College, Delhi University, Dr. Uma Shankar Venkatesh, Director, PGP and Professor, Great Lakes Institute of Management, and Sarthak Agarwal, who was the CBSE Class 12 topper last year. Thanks very much for joining us. Dr. Tyagi, if I can start by asking you, there are all those who have, we've created so few quality institutions, even after so many decades, that there are a handful of institutions really sought after. Everyone ideally would like to study at them, but they can't make it. So the next best thing is, should I just do whatever I can lay my hands on, forget where my skills lie or where my interests lie? How would you sort of resolve this, or how would you say is the best way to go about this situation?
The first thing, the student should always go for the course.
Always?
Always. In most of the cases, they should go for the course, even if they don't get the college of their choice. Because initially, if they get the college of their choice, they may be happy for few months, but ultimately they have to perform. And in the market, they will be judged by the course or the knowledge they have, not by the content. Also, in most of the postgraduate admissions, there is an entrance test. So their knowledge will be tested and not from which college they are coming. But in some courses like BA program, BSc Life Sciences or Physical Science or BCom Honours, if the student is not getting admission into BCom Honours and the college they are getting BCom program in the same college, I think then they can go for that BCom program, because there they will also study some of the commerce courses.
I see. Dr. Venkatesh, how would you sort of help this? I mean,
it's a reality of life. We have caste system in this country.
Right.
So therefore, there is a caste system in education. There is a caste system in companies that you go for jobs.
Absolutely.
And there is a lot of reputation attached to all this.
Exactly. So when you go to the job, sorry, I just need to interrupt you there. When you make a very important point, because lots of students have of course been saying that why the college matters or my institution matters is because the job that you mentioned, when you go to a company, then the company is going to look at where I studied and will look at what I studied later. That's the perception. Go ahead, sir.
So I cannot deny that applicants do think like this, that the college is very important and sometimes the course is subservient to the college choice. But frankly, I would go with Professor Shashi here that your first focus should be on what you want to do. Having said that, after class 12th, I really don't know how many of our kids are really sure of what they want to do.
Absolutely.
So like in a private conversation, you just said somebody from philosophy doing financial journalism. Frankly, those kind of stories are there for everyone to see. So those who are putting college before the course may have actually some such idols in their heads,
right,
that this works.
Correct.
So why not this?
He can do it, why can't I?
Why can't I?
Right.
So I won't name names, but Sanskrit honors courses in some colleges are full up just because they are that college. All right.
I see. Right.
So,
okay.
So that's the reality.
Right. Would you agree, ma'am? Would you agree that
to a great extent? But I'd like to elaborate on both the points that Dr. Tyagi and Dr. Venkatesh made. One is that course, yes, if you know what course you want to do. So if you're very keen on an economics or a BCom and you're looking at a financial services or a commerce or business kind of a career, yes, I can understand, then you go for the best course that you can get. But for a majority of students, they really don't know what they want to do. And college is the learning time, the time in which they're developing a little maturity and confidence and wanting to explore the world and the world of work as well. So at that time, take the best college you can get, which can give you the kind of environment where learning happens, where maturity happens, where you can network for a connection that will help you with the future.
With yourself, Sarthak, not everyone has your kind of luck really. The CBSE Class 12 topper last and all of that. But tell me, for those around you in your peer group, you must have seen people sort of facing this kind of conflict. What's your experience really been, from someone who's just been there, done that, and seen others in the same boat? How have they really been resolving it?
So one thing right at the beginning I should mention is that I've infinitely less experience than my peers at this panel right now, but all I can speak from today is from my experience of 1 year in my college. So one thing that should be mentioned at the outset is that a college is not just an academic game. It's not just you go out there for the academics. The overall development you actually get when you are in a college, when you are in a good institute, is like immense. It's not just restricted to a particular area. It expands to almost all horizons. So that's one point where sir and ma'am also mentioned that you should have an idea of what you want to do. So I'll like to go along with Usha ma'am is because a college really helps you expand the things which you do not yourself know that you have the capabilities to do in life. So if you have a course in mind, if you know for sure that I have to
Then
pursue
it's
this
one
subject
thing,
in future,
right.
then go for the course.
Right,
But if you are like slightly tentative, then what I have to do in future, then a college is the best experience to sort out your mind.
Dr. Venkatesh, you mentioned that students are now choosing wisely, or so they're sort of aware of their choices more. Would you sort of say that sort of fits in with your experience as well, with standing up and saying, no, I don't think that I can do this. I don't think that making it to the IITs is my cup of tea.
I think my experience has largely been with graduate students, that is postgraduate students as we call them. And of late, and I've worked with some of the premier institutions in the country, ranked within the top 10 or 15. And my class is predominantly filled with engineers. Predominantly. And when I say predominantly, it could be as bad as 98% of the class.
Wow.
If I take a dipstick poll in my class, which I do just for fun, right, invariably people say we got fed up, because the program I direct right now, minimum 24 months of work experience is required for you to apply. My class currently has around 3.9 years of average work experience.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 100% of the class has work experience, and it is pretty diverse from north, south, east, west, students from everywhere. And most of them say the same things, that they seemingly, many of them almost detest what they have been doing. So when you say that
Detest,
they
which is a very
detest,
strong
it's
word.
a strong word. They almost seemingly detest what they have done. So the point is that if you probe them a little bit, they will tell you that this was not their choice most probably, or they were misled into this choice, or they were not misled, they thought this was it, but then there was
Turned out that
no
it
rainbow at the end.
There are two things that I see in what you said, Dr. Venkatesh, is a very important point that you've made. A very sad comment on how our students still being sort of made to go through the grind, choose their subjects. But B, the silver lining, I think, which is that they're coming to accept that no, even if I've spent my time, doesn't mean I have to spend the rest 50 years or whatever, 40 years going through it, that I can even course correct even now. How would you see this, ma'am? It's quite interesting. Of course, one would imagine that this is now, especially in the numbers that Dr. Venkatesh is talking about, so many students just feeling frustrated or sort of, sitting up and saying, what have I done?
When a child is born, parents think that my child will become an engineer or a doctor or sometime now CA. They don't think of any other profession because they have seen throughout their life that these are the good professions and the noble professions. And the child is not interested because the child is seeing so many other opportunities in life. And I'm passionate about music, I'm passionate about filmmaking or documentary filmmaking, but the person does not want to go into engineering line or into the IT or into the electronics, and it was because of the parental pressure they have joined the IITs or the NITs. And after working for 2-3 years, they think that this is not my piece of cake. I have to do something else, and they want to sacrifice their 4 years of study. It is not even sacrifice. I think they must have gained something in life by studying engineering, and their IQ is better, they have better knowledge, and they can, I think, choose any other profession. There is a shift even after 10 years of service, even after 15 years. They are changing the profession. They are leaving that job and starting something else in life.
Sarthak, is this the kind of clarity? I mean, I know that you're saying that of course, there's a lot of experience that is still to be got, and which is fair enough, but is this the kind of clarity that you've sort of seen your peers really having on sort of the road ahead, what I want to do, or is it still, I mean, is it still largely that I believe I should do this because I'm told at home or, around me that maybe this is it because this is now fashionable, there's a lot of money, this is a good salary coming at the end of this. I mean, how are people now, how are students like yourself charting the road ahead?
So it's pretty much the latter as far as I can say, because I've been extremely lucky to have my parents and other resources guiding me towards the right path, which should be correct for me. But I've seen many of my peers and many of my classmates who are not quite sure of where they want to go in life. And not only life is like a pretty long journey, but
Right.
where they
Maybe
want to
more
see
immediate
themselves
future,
at,
right.
2 or 3 years on the short to medium run.
Right.
So this is one thing, if you have clarity on, everything else will be sorted, because once you can see your goal, you have an idea of how I want to achieve that. So that's one thing that's quite lacking right now. Obviously, I'm not the best person to give an all-encompassing statement on everyone, but this is one thing, if it can improve, it will really solve these problems.
How do you
very
believe
quickly.
it can improve? More counseling starting early? Like, what is the one thing that you believe was lacking or is lacking that can sort of achieve what you're talking about?
Ma'am, so I personally feel that it's more to the student to get to the right resources, because you can have like enormous amount of counseling, but in the end, it's your matter that really helps you. If you go on the internet, you can find any possible thing that you really want to. Like if I'm interested in some course, I just type it out on Google and list all the possibilities and where can I get more information about it.
Though actually, I'm glad that in my time I didn't have, I mean, the internet wasn't what it was, because I think I would have been totally baffled and I would have had no clue, because there's a whole world of information out there, and not necessarily does, I mean, at least to my mind, sort of, I don't know whether that would really figure. I know what you're saying, that it's all out there. You can take your pick, but I'm not sure if it would really sort of help you,
You mean there's
choose
too
the
much,
best.
too much.
There's just
But
too much.
I think each one's inclinations are
Would
towards
be
it.
sort of
So if you
reasonably clear.
explore the areas that you may be interested in, if you're going into a career related to communication, you can see how
Narrow
many
down
different,
those
narrow it
options,
down,
right.
look at what are the pros and cons. I mean, there are some who want to get into, there was a student who came who wanted to do journalism, very keen, she'd applied to all the journalism courses, and then when I explained to her what are the different areas that she can work in, she said, but ma'am, I want a 9-to-5 job. You know, so which means
I'm
that
sure you discouraged her from taking up journalism that moment.
absolutely. So, you know, so which obviously implies that there's not enough awareness.
Right,
and
right.
this is what Sarthak very rightly said, the
right.
students themselves have to explore.
So know your interests, maybe start from there, do your homework. We're slipping into a quick break now. I know many of you had some questions, I've got them. We'll try and get them answered right after this quick break. Don't go away.